Free agency, the draft is officially done, and we are all just sitting here patiently awaiting for training camp for the Buffalo Bills because there are a lot of questions that remain unanswered. One of which, in particular, with Leslie Frazier deciding to take a year off, let's be completely honest with ourselves, this was a behind doors show of respect. Basically saying, hey, Leslie, you know what? I think it's time for you to move on, but just for the sake of saving face at this point, we're going to tell everybody you decided to take a year off. Sean McDermott is taking over. So today we are going to really set expectations of not only how we feel like the scheme is going to look different, but will the scheme look better? Maybe the scheme is a bit different. Now that Leslie Frazier is out and Sean McDermott is retaining play calling, hasn't really done it consistently since he was with the Carolina Panthers just a few years ago. Seems like a millennium at this point. But we're going to dive into each and every single one of those potential situations and really start answering some serious questions. To say that you're new here, my name is Dan Mitchell. I'm an avid member of the Bills Mafia, and I regularly put out videos about the Buffalo Bills and the NFL in general. If that is your cup of tea, I highly recommend subscribing to this channel. And as always, smashing the ever-living fuck out of that like button. Okay, welcome everybody. I'm seeing people in the chat right now. Like I said, I went on ahead and I did a nice little presentation for everybody today. That's right, PowerPoint slides galore. Okay, so we're going to break down all of this information. We're going to chat a little bit. And then toward the end of the episode, I'm going to go to the chat, and then we'll be able to open it up into an overall free-for-all Q&A. But as promised, ladies and gentlemen, as promised, the Buffalo Bills defense. Sean McDermott's taken over, right? Something I think everybody is anxious to see. Is this going to be significantly different? So I thought the best thing that we could potentially do in this situation is to look exactly how he did during his time in Carolina. Specifically, what I wanted to do is I wanted to take a look at his most predominant year, which was 2015, the Super Bowl year when Cam went on ahead and he just decided to do his absolute thing. So looking into this, 308 points allowed, which is about 6th in the league during that point, 19.2 points per game. So definitely a very stout defense. Great run defense. I mean, obviously, when you have Luke Kuechly behind that defensive line, you're not going to miss a lot of tackles. That is 110% of that. With 88.4 rush yards per game, 4th in the league, damn, that would be nice, wouldn't it? Especially on a consistent basis. 234 pass yards per game, which is more around like the 11th, and then 322.9 yards per game, which was 4th. Now, don't get me wrong, this man did end up taking over a bit of play calling. I want to say it was for a game or half of the Chargers game, maybe a game or two afterwards. I think we all remember that Nathan Peterman game where he threw for 5 interceptions in the first half, and then McDermott was like, okay, enough is enough. But there wasn't enough stats to really go on ahead and make like a massive comparison, especially when you compare Leslie Frazier here. Now, I feel like this is interesting to point out. I feel like it's very interesting to point out when it comes to Leslie Frazier, because I feel like that the man got a lot of flack. And yes, maybe at the end of the day, he did drop the ball significantly when it came into the big game situations. I mean, we could think about 13 seconds just 2 years ago. We could think about the Bengals game where this guy legitimately was lining up our entire secondary 7 yards off the line of scrimmage against perhaps the most talented wide receiver trio in the entire damn league. But I feel like the man is widely disrespected for a lot of the things that he does do. I mean, just look at the stats compared to what McDermott did last year, okay? Let's look at the main difference here, right? 2nd in the league for 286 points allowed, 17.9 points per game, which equated to the 2nd. Surprisingly, the Buffalo Bills didn't do too bad with rush yards, right? These stats are probably a bit skewed, especially since Von Miller was off of that defensive line. There was a couple of key injuries, but I was even surprised when I put this out there and I saw that he was literally in 4th ranked overall. Something absolutely insane. From there, it was 214.6 pass yards per game, which was at about 15 in the league, which makes sense. It definitely makes sense. I mean, without Trey White being out there, with a couple of rookies lined up on the outside, and then overall 319.1 yards per game into the sixth. So I feel like that he didn't deserve as much flack as he did get from a lot of Bills Mafia, a lot of the media. But will we be able to improve? Because let's be honest with ourselves. The personnel over in Carolina and the personnel over in Buffalo are vastly different, right? Secondary wasn't necessarily their strong suit over in that 2015 year when McDermott was calling plays, but the secondary has been historically the focal point of this defense since McDermott ended up going out about that. So now what we need to do is we literally need to just discuss the personnel and see what McDermott's play calling style is going to sort of contribute right into there, which we have to talk about our secondary to absolutely begin with right over here. Let me go ahead and remove that. Let me grab these slides. Bear with me here, ladies and gentlemen. Hold up. This is absolutely the best thing that happens, man. Look at that, man. I was sitting there doing all this math, everything that you could think of, and then none of it even ended up sufficing. I love it. Here, let me see if I can share this again. Get this going. All right, boom. All right. So Bill's secondary right here, ladies and gents, right? Let me go ahead and present this real fast. So the secondary as it stands right now, we're looking at Trey White, we have Kyer Elam, and then Taron Johnson, Dane Jackson, et cetera. You know everybody that is on this list. But hands down, one of the largest things, one of the absolute largest things that I feel like everybody is just really going out there for the most part and saying, hey, you know what, man? Trey White, he is not the same. This man is simply just not the same. And what we need to do is we just need to realize that he is completely out of his prime. Let me tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, Trey White is the furthest away from his prime that you could even attempt to imagine right here, okay? I'm going to go on ahead and just point out something that I feel like everyone should see. From there, I feel like the biggest worry from anybody is essentially just that Trey White is not going to be the same. So what I did is I went on ahead and I'm trying to alleviate some sort of worry that I feel like a lot of Bills Mafia has at this point. Right on the left, you'll see from 2017 to 2021, I averaged each and every single one of his statistics. Now, on average from those years, and I didn't include 2022 because that was obviously an incomplete season. However, when he was fully healthy, he averaged 57 combined tackles, 47 solo tackles, and then 12.25 assisted tackles off to the left. Then I wanted to compare 2022 because did Trey White actually regress? Did he? Is he not the same person? Well, let me tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, with the 20 combined tackles, 16 solo tackles, and 4 assisted tackles, this is roughly about 1/3 of the entire season, right? Because we only saw him for about 6 games, roughly 1/3. On pace, this man is hitting all of his average numbers and beating them, right? So let's just do some basic math here. With 20 times 3, you're looking at about 60 combined tackles. He was on pace, say, for example, that he was going to play the entire season. Same thing with solo tackles. Man more than likely would have finished right around that number on average, and then assisted tackles almost on the tee. So when it comes to our overall secondary, I'm not worried about Trey White. I am not worried about Trey White when it comes into this situation. I feel like everybody in the world has just been, especially like outside fans, have been trying to say that he's past his prime. He's not going to be that guy. But I mean, at the end of the day, I still feel like he is. That with Taron Johnson, one of the best slot receivers in the entire league. You do have Kyer Elam. Let's just hope for the love of God. Let's just hope for the love of God that this man is going to be implemented into the defense. Whether or not that we joked around that Sean McDermott, whether or not that Sean McDermott has said this in the past, where he was basically, well, we say that about Sean McDermott, that he just hates rookies. I feel like hopefully at the end of the day, he's going to be out there. I have high expectations for this rookie. So to make it happen. And then that's just basically how it works out. So really, when it comes down to it, we have nothing to worry about. I think we literally have nothing to worry about when it comes to Trey White and his overall production of what we could see, because he is right on pace. He's right on pace. He has not regressed whatsoever. The numbers simply just don't lie. They simply don't, ladies and gentlemen. I feel like none of us have to worry about this at the end of the day. And you could sleep easy. So you want to know why this live stream, this video, if you are watching this pre-recorded, is sponsored by Manta Sleep. Now, let me tell you what, right before I found this company, I wasn't necessarily a huge advocate for sleep masks, but let me tell you what, ever since I've been using this for the past couple of weeks, I have been getting into damn REM sleep. And that's very important. I mean, I'm sure that all of us wake up super groggy. It takes us hours and hours for the coffee to kick in and really start getting productive. It's all about that REM sleep. And this right here literally is not only the most comfortable sleep mask I have ever witnessed, but at the same time, it's great. Like, it has this goggle situation right here where like your eyelashes aren't being completely caked to your face. It is one of the best investments that I have had in quite some time. That information is in my bio, so I highly recommend that you check it out. You're getting 10% off simply for just being a member of the Bills Mafia, baby. The Bills Mafia, just for watching this show. So definitely go on and check out the Manta Sleep Mask. Always something to consider. Manta Sleep. That is how we look at this entire situation. So next up, we have the safeties, right? I mean, I think that the way that McDermott is going to be establishing his play calling, I feel like that there is a bit of depth that is still necessary here, but I feel like we can't be upset that we ended up miraculously bringing back Jordan Poyer onto this team, right? I mean, with Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer being back together, you really can't be scared of our secondary. I don't care if it's Aaron Rodgers. I don't care if it's Tua and their speedy receivers. These two have been a focal point. Yes, they're getting up there in age, but still completely fine. I like Taylor Rapp. I do think that he was an upgrade as far as depth is concerned. And then with Damar Hamlin, that is still up in the air of how exactly he's going to be implemented into this team. How long will it take him to be back to about 110, and so 110% rather. But this is 110% a solid room. Wish we had a little bit more depth, but at the end of the day, really, what can you do? What can you do? Which brings us over into linebacker, which is rough. It's definitely rough when it comes to linebacker because we are without Edmonds, right? I mean, we ended up going on ahead, and he is on the Bears now, like a very integral part right to this defense. A lot of people suggested, that it was a money situation. But today, as a matter of fact, Brandon Beane alluded to the fact that perhaps money had nothing to do with it. Let's watch this.
He can match up with backs and tight ends in his sleep. And so that's why we've got him. And now we're trying to find that piece. Tremaine, really, really good player. But there were some matchup issues. It's just hard. It's hard to find
He's a big guy
that plays. He's 6'5". So
yeah, I met him. I was looking up at him.
Yeah, you put a little slot on him. It's not fair to him. He's just going to be a little more gangly. So
from what it sounds like, ladies and gentlemen, sounds like that he wasn't necessarily a scheme fit. Sounds like Tremaine Edmonds simply just was not a scheme fit for the Buffalo Bills, at least what Brandon Beane had thought. And I'm not going to lie to you, when we ended up grabbing Dorian Williams, he's not really a middle linebacker. He's not really much of a middle linebacker by itself. He is undersized. So when you look at our overall middle linebacker room or linebacker room in general, right now, like AJ Klein is the number one person on our depth chart at that point. And then you have Matt Milano and Dorian Williams, similar size. I feel like a lot of us are going to be a little bit upset about that or a little concerned until we ended up bringing in Puna, in which I decided to sort of give an analysis yesterday during my live stream. When you have a defensive line like that, a true one tech, which he is, like dude's a nose tackle. He's basically a one tech. Let's just call it as it is. This guy's going to be for real. And when you have such a big body right in the trenches, you can afford to get away from having absolute massive linebackers. So I think that the Dorian Williams pick is going to be fine. I really, really do. I mean, yes, he's 6'2", but like guy ended up having like 130 combined tackles last year. Tackling machine, fast, has an 87.5 is with PFF score, rate and coverage, which is something that was very similar to Tremaine Edmonds from those numbers by itself. You just can't be mad at it. You really cannot be mad at it, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, really, when it comes down into McDermott, our personnel by itself, there's nothing really else that we need to be too concerned about. Really, I think that we're going to see some similar play calling. Hopefully, we'll be able to see a bit more of some balls, rather, when it comes into big games. But I think there's a lot to be happy about. I would go into the defensive line, but I feel like that deserves an entire separate video by itself. But all in all, I mean, I still see our defense being top 3. I really do. And I mean, this entire live stream has just been birthed by the fact that I feel like a lot of people are just kind of like nervous that we're just going to see a giant downward spiral. I don't see it happening. I really, really don't. So for the rest of the video, I got 10 minutes left. I have to pick my grandmother up from the airport here in a little bit. So just wanted to go on ahead, wanted to hit the chat. This is now the Q&A time. Let's talk defense. Let's talk whatever you want to. I noticed a super chat coming in from Tim. This is a name. This is a name that I have not seen before. Welcome to the Don Mafia. Thank you so much for coming in. Off topic. But do you think having 9 draft picks next year could allow Bean to trade up to get a second first-round pick? It definitely wouldn't be out of the possibility, man, especially there's a couple of rooms on this roster that are going to be in desperate need of adding as much depth and as much day one contributors as humanly possible, particularly with the defensive tackle room. We have enough assets, and dude was selling off picks this year like damn Oprah. So I think that he's definitely planning ahead, because he feels like right now this may be the last year where we are the most complete with top contributing talent in all assets of the roster. So I could 1,000% see that being a possibility going into the first, so we can start stacking up on youth. Because, I mean, look at how many contracts hit next year. We have Von Miller's contract hitting next year. This is the last year where Von Miller's only, I think, allotted but like $1.6, $1.7 million in salary. Next year, it goes up to like 15, 16. Of course, Josh Allen's going to take a hit. There's going to be restructures here and there, but as far as cap space and free agency, there's going to be 0 free agency moves to the Buffalo Bills next year. So I could definitely see that being on his radar. Don't forget to apologize for insulting her turkey last season, Dan. I am very, very sorry for insulting your turkey. I don't particularly remember what happened with that, but my sincerest apologies. John Marlowe comes in, says Ray Lewis is 6'1". Let's give Dorian a chance. Yeah, man. I mean, like I said, I mean, I've never really been a person that says size matters, right? That's definitely going to be the most clip part of this episode, that's for sure. But I think that when you don't have big bodies and a true one tech on a defensive line, size matters a bit more. But I totally agree with you. I like the fact that he's fast. I like the fact that he's a great tackler. That's something that, and so the Buffalo Bills, particularly past the trenches, have struggled with, is actually completing tackles and being like that guy. So I'm definitely giving him a shot. Will Rath, if Aaron Rodgers offered you ayahuasca, would you take it? Probably not, man. Probably not. I mean, say that it was Aaron Rodgers and it was just me and Aaron Rodgers. No, I take that back. I think I would. And so I feel like if I were to do ayahuasca with anybody, it would be with Aaron Rodgers. I feel like that, like, you just need to surround yourself with the appropriate person. And that's the most hippie dude I think I've ever had the pleasure of even attempting to surround myself with. The 2024 draft could see 2 DTs selected corner, safety, and a future center to replace Morse. Definitely makes sense. I feel like we're highlighting a lot of some of these position groups where we frankly just don't have a lot of depth. I could definitely see that. Oh, yeah. Your grandma's from your video. Sorry, should have clarified. Yeah. I remember those comedy videos for the Buffalo Bills or every Bills fan reaction to the game. Absolutely. I will sincerely apologize about insulting your turkey. Although she is an amazing cook, it was exclusively for the parody. Okay, we have Nick coming in asking who is going to make the larger impact, James Cook or Gabe Davis? Man, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm thinking it's Gabe Davis because I have a feeling that his responsibility is going to be downgraded quite a bit. With Dalton Kincaid being on this roster right now, in my opinion, he is very quickly going to become our glorified wide receiver 2. He's going to be Josh Allen's second favorite target, and Gabe Davis is not going to be known as that second automatic option. He's going to go back down into a wide receiver 3. I feel like that pressure is going to go down, and I see his production absolutely skyrocketing going on into next year. So my answer with that is going to be Gabe Davis, 110%. Roscoe B44. You planning on attending some games this year? Yes, sir. I plan on going to 2 home games and 2 away games. I am anxiously awaiting the schedule to be released, and I will let everybody know which games I will be up there. Maybe I'll throw a little event or something like that so I can meet you guys. We could tailgate. Just be absolute, just the degenerate Bills fans would be great. How many linebackers make the final 53? 6 or all 7 you posted? Definitely not 7, man. Definitely not 7. Matt Milano is for sure. Definitely Bernard. Definitely Williams. We just drafted him in the 3rd round. Dotson is a sleeper. I think Dotson is a sleeper. I think that he is a lot better than people are giving him credit for. I think that he's going to have a really good year. With Tyler Matakevich, he's such an asset on special teams. I don't see us going away from him whatsoever. And then Balin Spector, he might be a casualty. He played a bit on special teams last year as well. But yeah, I'd probably say 6. I feel like all these guys that I'm looking at right now are absolute integral right to the team. But let me know if you agree or you disagree on that. Definitely something. Jet sign Cobb, freaking Rodgers, man. Dude is like the Adam Sandler of the NFL. Like wherever he goes, he just brings his best friends, whether or not that they're talented or not. Not taking away anything from Randall Cobb. He's been great. He's been a good dude. He's been successful in his career, but there's no question that dude, man, has regressed significantly for the past couple of years. And I could probably not see him dominating snap counts by any stretch of the imagination. That is absolutely for sure. Knox will have a year. Watch and see. I can see Knox absolutely blowing up. He's like the blocking tight end for sure. He definitely has that over Dalton Kincaid. He has proven himself that he can be a threat in the passing game. I think if we have those 2 tight end sets, it's going to be a dangerous thing, especially with all the defenses that we have right here. We have John Marlowe coming in saying, I think Davis could have a contract here. I think Cook is going to ball, though. I love that. Dan, I put that clip in trash talk for you. Thank you, man. I definitely appreciate that. Sarah Christine, I got a feeling it will be different this year. I think giving Kincaid playing time will be a priority. I could be wrong, though. Let's hope that McDermott sets aside his fact that he hates rookies, and my man will be implemented into this offense almost immediately. Bills Mafia, thank you so much for tuning in. Like I said, I hope that I was able to clarify a couple of things specifically with the overall defense. I do want to leave you with this in case anybody missed this. And of course, for anybody that is also watching this on the pre-recorded, biggest thing I want to say, biggest slander I want to put to rest is that Trey White is regressing. He is not regressing. There is absolutely nothing wrong with what this guy is doing. He is completely on pace to hitting his averages for his entire career. 2017 to 2021, you see his numbers on the left. 2022 season, just 6 games, third of the games. You incorporate those numbers from Trey White in 2022, a third of the games. He was projected to hit all of his average numbers from 2017 to 2021. If you take anything out of this video, take this right then and there. We have nothing to worry about with Trey White. He's still an elite DB. And now that he's actually going to have a full offseason of being healthy, training camp, you do the whole thing. He is going to be that guy. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. Once again, make sure you subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Smash that like button, and I will see you, I don't know, maybe in a couple hours, maybe tomorrow. We'll see you. Love y'all.